we've got some good news. So updating on what's been going on the last little while, I'm actually just going to quickly get my calendar up because I want to get the dates right. When I say everything's moving really, really quickly, it ticked off a big milestone. Yesterday was the first time I could go on the bike. I'm allowed to kick in the pool. Hopefully, fingers crossed, maybe a week and a half away from actually being able to get back out and start running. Now, everything's been based largely on pain levels. That's what this entire process has largely been about, in terms of once I start reducing the amount of pain I'm feeling, or if anything, when I'm not feeling much pain at all, which is currently where I'm at, we can start moving to the next step a little bit, kind of move through in a rate that we can maintain as much strength and as much endurance and all of those qualities as we can. Basically, the last time I ran was the 8th of Feb, or the 9th of Feb actually. So just over the 10th of March now. So just over 4 weeks ago, the moon boot went on the 15th, so the following week. There was a bit of a week turnaround between when I ran, when I was starting to feel the pain, and when it got worse, MRI, etc. So the 15th, so realistically, just under a month now, I was in the moon boot, I was on crutches for the entirety of that week. So up and through to the 22nd, plus also the following week till the 1st of March. I started walking again with the moon boot on the 1st of March. So that was then for the following 5 days I was walking. And as of Monday this week, so a couple of days ago, we're on the 10th now, so that would have been the 7th. That's when I started walking in the air cast that I've got on. It's basically like a moon boot, but it allows me to wear a normal shoe. So I can use my foot, I can get into plantar flexion we've talked about before, which is actually going to help preserve a lot of my calf. It's going to allow my ankle to start re-strengthening itself as well. I'm allowed to start progressing how much I'm walking now. And as I said before, I can get back on the bike, which I did yesterday, which is also going to allow me to show you more training. Like I figured over the last couple of installments, there's not much I can show you. Me just jumping in a pool and flapping my arms around with pool boy isn't that interesting, and that was all I could have really done and shown you. Now there's a lot more I can do in terms of the strength space. There's a lot more I can do in the swimming. There's a lot more I can do in the bike as well, so it's going to look a little bit more interesting. The conversation earlier this week with the sports doc, as a bit of an update before we get into the rest of this little block, was that 5 weeks from now, so we're basically looking at sort of the weekend of the 15th, maybe the weekend of the 22nd of April, I could be back 100% ready to go, which was kind of a scary thing to think about given the amount of timeline. We were talking initially maybe 10 to 12 weeks as a total plan. That would actually bring it to that sort of 9-10 week mark, depending on which week it was I was back out there umpiring games. So a 9 or 10 week turnaround is awesome. Again, we're not getting too far ahead of ourselves with this, but something I wanted to update you on is that we're going to be back running in a couple of weeks, and then from there, that progression should be reasonably quick. We've gone from not being able to walk, basically not last week, the week before, not being able to walk on my left leg at all and being on crutches, to then walking, to then not being in a moon boot in a very, very short space of time. And I haven't had really any pain through that transitional process. I'm just going to jump in this coffee, got a little bit of work to do. Then we're going to head down to the pool, and I've actually got training tonight. So it's a busy day to cram a lot of things in, but we'll catch up with you later in the week via a couple of little bits of training in between. So it's a bit of a quiet one here in the lab. I'm actually going to take you through in a minute what my proprioception and I guess daily strength routine is. We're going to jump on the bike as well. In terms of the proprioception type stuff, it's some really basic work. We're working on balance, working on gaining some stability through the leg and the ankle again. So I'm going to show you a bit of that. But then I'm going to jump on the bike and do a bit of a bike session. So the bike side of things, I'm not allowed to put a lot of watts out, which means that I did a bike session the other day for the first time, 20 minutes. I'm going to aim for 30 minutes today. Less than 200 watts, but I'm going to boost the cadence up there. And I might talk about that a little bit later when I'm on the bike as to why I'm doing that. So first things first, bit of proprioception. So all the proprioceptive stuff is really just the sensory feedback, and also just things like balancing tasks like this. One leg, getting on the affected leg, but then also still doing it on my right, my good leg at the moment, just to get all those intrinsic muscles is what we call them. So all the small muscles in around the foot and the ankle, up onto one leg, and you sort of stand barefoot like this. You'll feel your foot sort of shake and wobble a little bit. Basically just self-correcting, and that sensory feedback is going to help keep you upright. but also all those muscles are going to have to activate and strengthen again to be able to be really, really rock solid. I'm going to do some of these, couple of rounds, so 2 to 3 rounds of eyes open, 60 seconds each time, but then I'm going to take away that visual aspect. It's really easy for me to look at basically where you are on the camera here and focus in and stay relatively still while I'm balancing. If I take away that visual component, hopefully you'll see me wobble around a little bit more, and that's really going to force me to work through and coordinate and balance myself out without that feedback in terms of the vision. Your vision plays a massive role in terms of keeping things balanced. If you can have a focal point, it keeps everything level. Take that away, it becomes a little bit topsy-turvy, especially when some of those muscles haven't been under too much strain for too much period of time. So I'm going to jump into that. Then just some basic calf raises. That's the basic strength I'm doing every day. I've obviously got my more advanced strength programming, my rehab strength programming that I'm doing every couple of days, but every day trying to get some calf strength back, just some basic calf raises, as well as some of the ankle movements that we've done previously. So dorsiflexion, plantar flexion, inversion, eversion, doing those with the band still. But the balancing tasks have so far been really, really good to develop some of that intrinsic little muscles within the foot and the ankle. Close my eyes. Hopefully you can see a little bit of a difference. And then we're going to go through and do some calf raises as well. So I just finished my balancing stuff for my calf raises. The other thing I forgot to mention, just as I bump the treadie speed up, I have to walk a bunch now. Every other day, I'm trying to get minimum of 10,000 steps. And the reason for this is so to prepare for when I start running again and just tolerate that. It's not going to be the same loads. Obviously, as running, we're not going to have the same impact, same forces going through the body, but it's to tolerate, I guess, a volume aspect of that. For me, a lot of it now is just try to get out and walk as much as I can, because the more I can walk, particularly as well, it's a great indicator for the pain aspect. The more I walk, if there's no pain, keep walking more, build the volume, go out and do some half an hour, 60-minute type walks. As long as I'm not getting any pain, that's going to be a really key thing to be able to tick off, to be able to get this air cast off, which I'll actually show you in a second what this is. But that's going to help me get back running quicker and actually being able to get out there and run. What I might do is actually, I'm just going to quickly stop this. I'm going to show you this air cast because I don't think I've shown it before. You can basically have a look and see it's a little bit different, not quite super fashionable in terms of the long sock, but basically how this works is it's almost like 2 shin guards on either side of my tibia. They're going to hold my leg in place, very similar to what the moon boot was doing. It's just a case of I can get into a normal shoe. So you'll see down here I'm wearing normal shoe on this left leg, but what it allows me to do is get that plantar flexion going so I can get into basically that calf raise movement and try and get some of my calf strength back and walk a little bit more freely. So all it's doing is just helping align the leg to make sure it's healing in the correct way. The rest of it is let's try and build some calf strength. So it's sort of an in-between a full moon boat like I was in, but then not fully out of a brace. I still need a little bit of support there just for the time being. So I'm going to jump back up on the treadie. We're going to keep walking for a bit and then we'll jump on the bike and see how we go for our second bike session. So I'm going to jump on the bike now, a bit of a quick session. I'm only going to do sort of half an hour or so. As I said, I've done a quick 20-minute ride already. I'm just waiting for Zwift to load up. I'm going to jump on. I can't really produce that much power, so I have to keep the brace on while I'm pedaling. So what that means is I'm going through a process of actually increasing my cadence. And the reason for that is it's going to allow me to get my heart rate up there. You sort of intuitively know, and it's something I've been doing some investigating over the last little while and some research on. I'm testing out and playing around with, given I can't produce a lot of power, getting my cadence up, is that going to allow me to maintain some of that cardiovascular adaptation till I can get back to producing more power on the bike and then ultimately, hopefully in a couple of weeks, getting back to running. Part of the reason I'm going for this higher cadence, like I said, is to try and get my heart rate up. So currently, and I'll hopefully put this in, I'm pedaling at pretty low wattages at times, and depending on how the gradient's going on Zwift, I'm at sort of 150, even less, 100 watts. There's some moments there I saw briefly, I was like 90 or 80 watts, and I had a heart rate of up in the 160, 161, 162. And you look at that initially and go, oh, sign of like detraining and things like that, but it's definitely not. Largely it's just, I'm trying to increase that blood flow, as I said before. The other byproduct of it is as well, is that I should be able to minimize how much muscular fatigue I have at the end. So faster contractions, and excuse the breathing because I'm currently at
I'll show you this actually. I'm currently at 70, 90 watts, 158, 159 beats per minute for low 100 watts. Hence why my breathing rate's up. And that's kind of the point, is low force production, higher cadence is going to force heart rate up, force oxygen consumption up. It's not very economical, but my point of doing this isn't to, I wouldn't do this in a race. Like, I'm not going to go and ride my bike out in a triathlon and spin up really fast for a high heart rate. It makes no sense. We want to be as economical as we can in race circumstances. I'm doing this for the training stimulus to try and put my heart, I've just hit 166, which is actually the highest of the session so far, but I haven't hit that type of heart rate range since I was running, since I pre-injury. So that's where I'm ultimately trying to get that stimulus on the heart again, to try and get some cardiovascular adaptation without inducing too much muscular fatigue, especially on my left leg. My quads have still been reasonably used, I guess, to an extent, but they've been rested quite a bit. As a byproduct, I haven't been on my left leg. So I don't want to pull up session in, session out, feeling really, really sore and really, really heavy straight away. I'm going to expect some of that, but I want to try and minimize as much of that muscular fatigue as I can, so I can, I guess, fit in more training load earlier, which is also part of the reason why I'm going to spin up a bit quicker. Smaller motor units used because I'm not producing as much force. I increase the force production, so I increase the power output. More motor units, which means ultimately more fatigue, because there's more of my muscle mass having to engage to create that amount of power. By spinning faster, I can still create okay power and keep the bike moving along, of course, on Zwift. Ultimately, it's more about get oxygen consumption up. I don't worry about economy. Oxygen consumption up, heart rate up for as little, I guess, muscular investment, if you like. So I can get a pretty good training stimulus without having to go and do a normal set, because particularly my left leg, it's probably not ready to handle some of those higher forces, and not necessarily from a muscular perspective. I've lost a bit of muscle mass, I'm trying to build back the strength, sure. But at the end of the day, this is a bone injury. And that's one of the reasons why I can't run, is the impact. But even on an offloaded or non-impact sport like cycling, I've still got a carbon shoe underneath my foot. So there is still a reasonable amount of force going through, and there is going to be some compression between my knee and also my ankle, because there's a solid platform, that carbon plate under my shoe, and I'm pushing down on top of it. There's going to be some compression if I'm at higher wattages. So if I tried to maximally sprint, that's where you would see I'd probably start to maybe induce a bit of pain if I wasn't quite ready for it. So this lighter load, lower power, faster turnover is kind of a little bit of a workaround and a bit of an experiment. There isn't too much research that I've found specifically on this. I'm pulling some different parts of the research together here to see if I can get a training effect. So I'm interested to say it's a bit of an experiment of myself on, could this be used for some of the athletes I work with, and maybe some of you watching, when you're returning from injuries like this, can we go on the bike and can we induce some cardiovascular adaptation a little bit earlier than just going back to normal intensity, where we assume that we're getting the adaptation by then, but this might be a way to prevent as much of the losses more than anything in those early stages. So I've still got about 7 or 8 minutes left, got half an hour to do. I'm still blowing pretty heavy. I just saw 167 behind you as well, just pop up. I'm currently at 81, 80 watts, just spinning really quick, averaging somewhere between 100 and 105 RPM. Had some moments up at 110, 120, but we're going to finish this one out. Bit of a different type of session, but again, hopefully a bit of an interesting insight in what I'm trying. I'm doing as best I can so that we can speed up the recovery process, but also speed up the return to perform process. I don't want to have myself lagging behind going, well, I can run, I can do everything, there's no pain, but I've lost so much fitness. This is a bit of an experiment in how can we maintain some of that through as much of the process as possible. So once I get back in running, I just got to tolerate the load. Fitness is already there. We can walk straight back into performing as we were prior to the injury. So I'm going to quickly finish this one off. I'm blowing. It's 25 degrees in here too, so that doesn't help. The heats are also going to induce a bit of a adaptation in terms of blood volume again and things like that, so I don't mind that. Hence why I got the fan off. It's also going to help keep the heart rate up a little bit longer, a little bit easier. I'm going to finish this one off. A lot of training, a lot coming up, but it's good to see things getting back on track. We'll catch up with you next week, hopefully with some more updates after I see the doc again. Yeah, we'll see how we go. So I said I'd update you after the visit to the doctor, so very quickly finish this one out. Some really good news heading into the next couple of weeks, which is going to be the next installment of the rehab vlog. first and foremost, things are tracking well. We can start introducing some single leg stuff. So I'm going to start getting the calf raises onto a single leg now. Really starting to progress that side of things in terms of getting that strength back. I can start loading things. So deadlifts are great. Basically, the only thing I can't load in the gym is going to be like a squat. Just on how that movement is loaded is going to potentially cause some issues if I start loading that too quick. So avoiding that, I can start increasing the amount of power I'm pushing on the bike, thankfully. It was one of the big questions I asked the doctors pretty much straight away. I was like, am I allowed to punch more than 200 watts doing my head in? So I can do that. So I can try to get the heart rate up a bit more. Obviously keep swimming. I did some kick today. As you'll see that I just put in from before, that I'm able to get that kick happening a little bit more. I can backstroke a little bit more freely now as well. So all of that is sort of coming along quite nicely. The big thing is... well, do I want to go good news or bad news? Bad news, I guess, first in terms of the two big things is this air cast brace that I've got on my leg at the moment. So if you remember this one, that is going to stay on basically until I'm fully back. The reason for that is because we want to just keep everything in place and continue that healing process as best we can, and just provide that extra bit of support just while I'm walking around doing my day-to-day stuff. The big positive is that next Thursday, so exactly a week from today, could be, and I say could be because there's a few things I have to tick off before, it could be the first time I run again. So that's going to be like 6 weeks since my last run, which is an unbelievable turnaround. That could mean that we're back in 10 weeks, which actually means that I could actually be back fully ready to go in about 4 weeks from now, which is really exciting. So the few things I have to tick off before I wrap this up. First one being, I need to water run first. So I'm going to go and water run this week on Thursday. And by water run, all I mean is basically get up to just above waist depth, so middle of my chest height. And I just got to keep going up and back for about 20 minutes and slowly build that out basically every other day. So when I normally do my swims, I'm going to incorporate that, then finish it out with a normal swimming set of about a K or so, just to give me a bit more so that it's extending some of the volume out. While I'm at the pool, may as well keep swimming, get some water running done first. And what that's going to do is take the loading off. So it's like running it's like running with less body weight effectively and less impact. I can still get the running motion going, and it's a preparation stage before returning to running. Once I can do that, the big next milestone is next Tuesday. So exactly a week from now, I'm going to go back in and we're going to do a bunch of strength testing and basically try to put me to the limit in terms of what can my calf handle, what can my ankle handle. From a strength perspective, some fatigue testing ultimately in terms of how many calf raises I can do until I fatigue. Left versus right, what's the difference? How far away are we? What pain levels? Put through a bunch of physical tests as well to assess for some pain and things like that. And if I can tick all those boxes, that'll give me the green light to then run next Thursday. So some really great news. Everything's healing quite well. There's a lot of positives. A few interesting little adaptations to the training. As I said, single leg exercises coming in like calf raises, but also some changes to some of those extra little things that I'm doing in those proprioception and I guess day-to-day strength sessions. So some really good stuff to look forward to over the next couple of weeks. Particularly the next 2 weeks is going to be an interesting progression. If the things keep going the way they are, we're looking really quick return, which is going to be awesome to be able to hopefully run again maybe as early as next week, which would be fantastic. So I'm going to leave it there. Plenty we covered in this last couple of weeks. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Looking forward to this next part of the prep. For now, continue to recover up, continue to do the right things. We're getting closer and closer to having a return. And hopefully you enjoyed seeing a little bit more training this time around. I got out to film some stuff, and that's only going to increase now that I can do more compared to that initial immediate recovery only phase. We're now sort of getting back in the swing of things, and we're very close to getting back to a reasonably normal sort of training environment with the running and all of that. So look forward to catching you in the next one. We'll catch you in a couple of weeks' time, and yeah, we'll see how things go.